Greetings, everyone. It is August 31st, yes, 2022. This is week number 4 of the vlogging, I believe. I had an interesting weekend, actually a pretty awesome weekend. I was up in New York City, visiting my partner, who's also going to be on the show with me. And I got to sit in with the Broadway pit orchestra of the Book of Mormon, which was an awesome experience. I'd never done that before. It was really, I guess, kind of eye-opening. Some of the musicians that were in there that night were, original members of the opening night band, and had done several thousand shows at this point. So it was interesting to sort of see them where they are now with the show. Something that they've done that many times it's almost on almost, it really is on autopilot at this point. One of the people I was sitting next to watching television on his iPad while he was playing the show, with subtitles running. I mean, they've just done it that many times, and he played it perfectly. I mean, I didn't hear any mistakes. The interesting thing, I think the most eye-opening thing for me, was that there were multiple subs, so both brass players were subs that night. I was a little bit bummed not to get to meet Randy Andos, the original trombonist. However, great sub that night. I won't say who, but listening to both brass positions as substitutes was really interesting to hear their approach. The trombonist who subbed that night hadn't subbed on the show for like 9 years. I mean, it had been a while, but he sounded great on it. Big sound from him, from both players. I mean, big. He was playing a 2B, King 2B, but had a huge sound on it. And the approach to dynamics was interesting. I think it was, just his experience over the years with playing into a microphone, especially in a deep pit, the way the Book of Mormon pit is on Broadway. Most of your sound that the audience is going to hear is coming through a mic, and they're going to level it. So why not bump up the dynamics just a little bit, and so you can be more confident with your entrances, with your playing, that sort of thing. It was quite interesting, and maybe it was the fact that he hadn't played the show in 9 years. I don't know, but great sound. But you hear mistakes in the band, and I think sort of the typical story that you're told by longtime Broadway players as well. You kind of get one shot, and if at the sub book, and if they don't like what they hear, then they don't call you again. And that the show has to be the same every night in, night out. And I think that's partly true, but it was a great reminder to sit in there and remember that everybody's human, and that as a substitute, you have to play through some of the mistakes. And there were very few mistakes, but a cracked note here or a missed entrance. Heard some 2 missed entrances. Maybe it's because that show's been running for so long, and there's no pressure from the outside to sell tickets, because it's going to sell, it's going to make money, people are going to come, they're going to laugh. But I think more so it's that people are human, even the pros on Broadway, and mistakes happen. There's a grunt of frustration, and then you just have to move on. And you're going to get razzed a little by the people around you, but in a in a endearing sort of way. Like, yeah, we've all been there many times, so shake it off, sort of thing. Anyway, it was nice to sort of see that there is, at least on such a long-running show, some leeway when it comes to mistakes. You're not going to get evil glances just because you came in early on an entrance that you haven't played for a while. So they just, I think what they want out of a pit sub is somebody who's going to play 90% of the show correctly. They just want to get through the show without anything crazy. And I have to say, like, for the most part, it was pretty incredible that the band was so tight, the horns were so tight in their articulations, so together, in sync, despite the fact that 2 of the 3 horn players were fill-ins for the night, which kind of makes me think that, looking at certain articulations, like, the thing that I really noticed was these types of articulations are played a certain way, very short, and maybe that's just the way that they're played in the city, I guess. It was shorter than I expected, so it gave me some food for thought as I'm preparing this. Going into rehearsals of my own, I'm going to have to see how, everyone else is approaching it and blend in. I think the most impressive thing wasn't the fact that they were playing it so shortly, but it was the fact that they were playing it together. Like, they all knew to play certain things a certain way. And I think it's just experience in that realm, in that Broadway realm, that gives them that ability to play so together, despite the fact that they're filling in on a show that maybe they haven't seen in a while. I don't know how often some of these subs fill in. It seemed like the trumpet player, the trumpet sub, was somewhat of a regular. But as I said, the trombonist hadn't subbed the show for 9 years, so to hear him play the way he did was just incredible. And of course, there's the humility afterwards. Oh, not my best night. So now you've heard how not to play it, etc., etc. But if I could play any show with the sound he had on that little horn, man, that'd be something else. Also, I hope I'm playing at that high a level when I'm that age. I think the trumpeter, God, he had to have been in it late 50s, maybe 60, like, an old hat at the profession, but just playing these screaming trumpet parts. I hope I have those chops when I'm that old. Anyway, it was incredible. I have my book. I got my book right before I left, so I was able to take it with me and read through it during the show. Shout out to Justin Mendoza, the current music director on Broadway Book of Mormon. Very kind, very warm person. Thank you so much for allowing me to sit in that night and being so open. Couldn't have asked for a more welcoming experience, so I really appreciate that. I'm going to be looking at the book and making notes over the next 2 weeks. I think I have 2 weeks from tomorrow until I fly. Today's Wednesday. I fly on a Thursday. So I have the book now. So during these run-throughs, I've already marked up a few page turns. There's nothing too bad. The way they've printed this, the way my company has printed this, I don't appreciate. It's just too, it's hard to turn pages. So there's a couple spots that the turn needs to happen pretty quickly that I've added a tab to, but for the most part, it's not bad. But marking accidentals, stuff I've been missing somewhat regularly and haven't been able to mark on my computer screen. And marking entrances with dialogue text is sort of the name of the game right now. I have to prepare this book for somebody to fill in for me. The current health environment that these shows exist in, people are going to catch COVID on tour, and I need to be prepared to have somebody sight read my book, which means marking it up in a way that's conducive to reading it on the fly or for the second or third time, so that they don't miss major entrances, that sort of thing. There in every musical book, this one's pretty well edited, but in every book you get that every show you do, there's stuff in there that isn't marked that you have to mark in with pencil. It's just during rehearsals, workshopping, things have been added, they've been subtracted, and it takes a pencil to write in fixes that are sort of dictated during rehearsal periods, that kind of thing, that don't later then get put in ink into the book. So that's going to be this week. I have the board. It's a lot of the same as last week, but run-throughs this week. Maybe not every day, but most days, and definitely running hot spots every day, getting that worked out. And I'm still working on my friend Julian's jazz project, so we'll have more of an update then. I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but I had to take the bass trombone in for work. It was giving off a weird buzz on certain frequencies, and I haven't heard back. I had to leave it. I was hoping to take it down and get it back same day, but there's a wasp in here. I never know how they get in. We couldn't fix it. I drove a few hours down to my repair technician. We couldn't figure out where the buzz was coming from. I spent about an hour and a half there. So he's going to have to spend some time with it, or he hopefully has spent some time with it the last week. He's had it about a week. I haven't heard anything, but he's a busy guy. I'm sure he's working on it. I'll probably write him maybe tonight or tomorrow, because he's going to ship it back to me, and I definitely need it back with about a week to spare. So he's going to need to ship it back relatively soon, I think by the end of the week. And if we can't find the buzz, we can't find it. The horn still plays well, and I play it so little in the show that it's not a big deal as long as the horn isn't actively falling apart, which I don't think it is. So anyway, that's a big wasp. That's it for this week. I'll catch you next week.